It occurs to me that I'm not necessarily in the right mindset to review this movie, so I bought a little additive to help me with that. That whiskey is a lot stronger than I thought it'd be. This movie was great. Hello and welcome back to another midnight showing. As always, I'm Kelly, and I just got out of God's Not Dead 2. Non-spoiler version, this movie sucked. I think you all basically thought that it was going to. I doubt any of you actually went to go see it. So, yeah, there's not really going to be a non-spoiler version. I will give this movie one piece of credit, though. It's not as bad as the first one. The first one was very, very hate-filled, had character archetypes that were just so over-the-top cartoonish that there was no way you could take this seriously. And on top of which, I can honestly say that they didn't have the atheist get hit by a fucking car and expect you to cheer. They didn't have the liberal person who doesn't believe in faith and is trying to attack D-rate celebrities with ambush interviews get cancer and then have her life completely fall apart because her boyfriend turned out to be an asshole. There wasn't any of that crap inside of this movie, so I can give it credit there that it didn't do any of that. The rest of the movie is still a propagandic piece of shit that doesn't think through its goddamn arguments. There's so many holes in it that I could poke it with a stick. I could fucking drive my car through most of the plot holes inside of their arguments and the story and shit. And oh my god, I had to go sit through this movie. Why is the alcohol always gone? Yeah, if that wasn't enough of a non-spoiler version for you, this movie gets an honest to God, fuck it. There's nothing here that's really redeemable, and frankly speaking, it's kind of dangerous to show this type of propaganda to kids. And I can't honestly recommend that you go see it in any way, shape, or form. Hell, I was seriously one step away from wearing my red ring of hate in this review. Yeah, it was that bad. So let's go into the spoiler version of this, and I'll start with some positives. The setup actually isn't that bad. The movie's main plot, because there's like 70 different subplots, just like the first one, that have to somehow tie in together, but not really. Seriously, does anyone know why the files are being subpoenaed? Had nothing to do with anything else. Set up for God's Not Dead 3, probably? Probably. But the main plot setup actually wasn't that bad. It follows Melissa Joan Hart, who you all might remember as Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like me. And she is a teacher at a school. She gets asked a question about the similarities between what Martin Luther King said and what Jesus said. And the teacher answers the question. And she ends up actually quoting a couple of scriptures in there also. Word gets back, and suddenly we have a giant inquiry because you can't mention God inside of school because separation of church and state, blah, blah, blah. As I said, the setup isn't that bad. This is muddling around a gray area. Nothing was actually done wrong. She wasn't really preaching. She was just answering the student's question, and you could actually make a case for both sides out of this. If they kept it simple here in this little gray area, the movie probably wouldn't have been that bad. Guess what they don't do? No, they go the whole, we Christians are being suppressed and victimized, and we're just the silent protesters, and they're the evil ones who are trying to destroy Christianity to prove once and for all that God is dead. Yeah, and if you think that my little joke back there was overly cartoonish, you should see some of the acting inside of this film. Nobody acts like a regular goddamn human being in this movie. Nobody. Which is to be expected. That's what the last movie was like, with their over-the-top Kevin Sorbo getting hit by a car. I will give some of the actors credit that they didn't play their roles as over-the-top as other people were doing, and it did tend to make some of this a little bit more bearable. Melissa Joan Hart especially was doing a great job trying to really balance everything that was going on in her life versus knowing that she did nothing wrong. I mean, essentially she didn't. She wasn't preaching. She answered a student's question. It's pretty clear cut. And she was okay inside of the film. Also, the person who played her lawyer, Jesse Metcalfe, he did a pretty good job inside of it. He was trying to play the straight man through all of this. Until about the last 40 minutes of the movie. Then he started to be really swinging in the wrong direction. But for at least the first hour and 20 minutes, I can honestly say he wasn't that bad. Then there was one performance that was so over the top, so cartoonish, so fucking bad that I have to tell you that it was amazing. And that was Ray Wise as the freaking bad guy, Peter Kane, in this movie. Oh my god, this man was just hamming it up so bad. I am seriously tempted to resurrect the Satan right now, because that is basically what he was acting like. He was the evil twirly mustache guy. He literally blankly laughs at one point. I am not even shitting you. And he always has this kind of toothless grin. Right when he knows when he gets his what he wants. Don't worry, my pretty. You're giving me everything I need. He seriously acts like this throughout the whole film. And it's just so... It's like he knows that he's in God's Not Dead, too. And he doesn't give a flying fuck. Because there's nobody in real life that acts like this. At all. Especially one that works for an organization that's so hell-bent on defending free speech that they literally would defend the Ku Klux Klan. It actually happened. Another performance that I actually really enjoyed, although I have to ask how the hell they got him, was Ernie Hudson as the judge. Yes, the guy from Ghostbusters, he's in this movie. Why? I have no fucking clue, but he actually was doing it pretty decently. He did the over-the-top stuff near the end, but that's what you get for making a courtroom drama out of this shit. But other than that, everybody else is just completely devoid of humanity and character and realism, and frankly speaking, I just wanted this movie to end so badly, but it was 2 fucking hours. So let's get back into the plot of the story. After Melissa Joan Hart makes her wild, unbelievable question answering session inside of a history course, the principal takes it to the board, and yeah, they want her to put out an apology saying she did something wrong, never to do it again, and they're just being a disciplinary mark on her record. That's all. She can't do that because she didn't do anything wrong. So they end up bumping this up to the court, and I just have to ask, was this fucking taking place at the fucking Capitol building? I mean, where the flying fuck is this taking place? Because my courthouse doesn't look like the fucking Capitol building. It looks like a courthouse. Yet everything happens on the fucking steps of the Capitol building. Am I watching War Room again? Are you trying to get more Christians into government positions to help stop the abuse of power that the government's doing? Because that seems what be going on, but that's a side plot. And of course, this is when we get introduced to Ray Wise as the fucking insane bad guy who convinces the parents of the girl who asked the question to fucking sue this teacher basically for everything because she was preaching in class. No, she wasn't. She was answering a question. Any kid in the class could be called to the stand and verify this exact same thing. In fact, you can even call the kid who had the follow-up responses to this. But no. He's trying to prove once and for all that God is dead, so that they can get rid of these things, this stupid thing called Christianity, once and for all. No, I'm serious. Minus the twirling stash, that's what he does at the end of that scene. It's hilarious. Can you tell how many people I pissed off at this theater by laughing? Yeah. One of them even followed me out afterwards, trying to tell me God's not dead. I seriously felt like fucking Colin Firth inside of Kingsman when he's trying to leave the racist, hateful church right before he ends up shooting the place up. So they get into the courtroom and then just gets thrown out as just some of the dumbest shit ever. Oh my god. This is the main plot, by the way. You might notice I haven't mentioned the Reverend, or the Chinese kid, or the blogger, or any of the other fucking subplots they have in this movie, because they really don't serve anything, especially the Reverend. They made a big deal about Reverend Dave inside of this movie, but I'm just gonna say it right now. Why was he in this movie? Whatsoever. I don't get it. Oh, he got jury summoned. So you think that God's plan is to put this guy on the jury so that she can win the case and not go to jail and all that stuff. But no, he actually gets kicked off the stand for a legitimate reason, but one so... Okay, I have a problem with it. I'll get to that in a second. Just bear with me. But yeah, let's talk about some of the subplots in there. So the liberal blogger girl who got cancer in the last one, yeah, through praying and faith, she prayed her cancer away. She's in remission, and she's having trouble keeping her faith now that her cancer's gone. Which, honestly, you could make a movie about that subplot, and if written right, wouldn't be a bad religious film. But, they're just completely doing it to show the power of Christianity is awesome, and to have the newsboys back in the film so they can sing God's Not Dead again, because that's exactly what we needed to end this movie on, is a fucking music video. But yeah, she solely exists because she somehow magically has a connection to one of the students in the classroom, so she gets put inside of the fucking position to convince the girl who asked the question to take the stand, which ends up backfiring anyway, so what was the fucking point? And that is her entire subplot. That is it. She finds God again by talking to the black reverend guy who just shows up out of nowhere and is there to answer her questions. Yay for padding! Let's talk about the Chinese kid for a second who comes back in, who was converted to Christianity in the last film, if you remember correctly. What is he doing in this film? Well, he's got a lot of questions, so he goes to Reverend Dave to get them all answered. All 200 something of them over the course of his 2 or 3 visits. And that Chinese guy ends up telling his dad about it, who flies all the way to America to slap his son and say, "You are no longer my son anymore," because he's a Christian now. Huh? What, did your son also secretly come out of the closet and admit that he was a member of the KKK? Why is this such a harsh reaction? And after all of that, he just happens to end up inside of the church where he plays the piano and sings very, very poorly, "God is near to him," right as the girl who asked the question comes in to ask questions about her brother's Bible she found. Contrived much? And this leads him to the magical belief that he needs to become a pastor and go back to China to help spread the word of the gospel. Yes, that's exactly what you want to show people. Drop everything you've worked for because God wants you to become a pastor. Never mind that you may not actually be any good at it, or you don't have any of the training that's required for it, that you haven't really been a Christian long enough to actually, be ordained and stuff like that and become a pastor the right way. But no, that's just whatever. Dumb subplot, goes nowhere. Then we get to the most pointless subplot of the movie. And this is the one where I'm going to break out into a rant. And it's Reverend Dave White, who's playing himself, by the way. Just saying. He is contractually obligated to become one of the jurors. Yeah. This goes nowhere. The movie sets it out like he's going to be the swing vote that makes the whole jury basically not convict this woman. But over the course of it, he didn't want to be there initially. Just like in the first movie with a stupid car, which the car dealer comes back because we needed to remind them that the fucking car wouldn't start, because it's not like they did that 7 or 8 times in the last movie. But they make it out to be that he doesn't want to be there. That he's got so much other shit going on in his life right now that this is an inconvenience. He's got to sit there for 8 hours and hoping not to get picked. He ends up getting picked, and after hearing the case, he realizes why he's there. You know, God's plan and all that. But the truth is, yeah, he actually gets kicked off the jury because his appendix bursts. In which I'm going to go into a bit of a rant. They don't even know the fucking symptoms of an appendix burst, because they show that he's having, spikes of pain, and that he's not very comfortable just sitting there, that just needs to be there type thing. And he ends up passing out. I'm sorry. As someone who literally has 3 holes in his abdomen right now that are still healing from getting his appendix removed, do you not know what the fucking symptoms of an appendix burst are? This shit doesn't come in spikes of pain. It hurts a lot the entire fucking time it is happening. It starts out as if you're just sore, and then slowly starts to get worse and worse, and then you start to feel spikes on top of the massive pain that is keeping you from literally moving. I was in so much goddamn pain that I literally could not sit down, lie down, or stand up at all. I could not fucking move for a good about 14, 15 hours before I finally went to the ER. And it was only thanks to the massive amount of drugs that they put me on that I was finally able to move around properly. And I never once passed out during any of this, even when my appendix did burst. I didn't. I was in so much goddamn pain that it was basically impossible. Yet, this movie would have you believe that when your appendix bursts, you have spikes of pain, you get a fever and start sweating pretty bad, and you eventually pass out. Now, you might think that this whole little divergent rant is got nothing to do with anything, but let me put it like this. If they were so fucking lazy that they didn't even research the actual symptoms of an appendix burst, why do you think that they put any fucking effort into actually talking about the arguments inside of the courtroom, which were by far the worst section of this movie? Okay, my rant's over. Now let's actually talk about these fucking sections. Yeah, this movie is so horribly researched that it's pretty clear that the whole defense, the lawyer that's doing, is just basically brainwashing the entire jury into fucking believing that she's being repressed somehow. That's not what's fucking happening. He's clearly arguing that she was preaching during class. Not being repressed, but preaching during class. I'm sorry, but why aren't you actually saying no, she wasn't? She was answering the student's question. Call on the actual fucking students. Stop bringing in specialists to tell you that Jesus was actually proven to be a real person in history, which, yeah, there's enough historical data to say that there was a man who basically inspired Jesus. Whether we know that he was Jesus or not is still up for debate. But there was somebody who did exist back then. There's no disproving that. I get what they were trying to do here by trying to prove that he was a historical figure, and this is a history course, so it's okay to mention Jesus inside of it. But then they go the whole fucking swing opposite way by only bringing in some of the most biased people they could on this subject. You want to bring in non-Christian historians for this shit, wouldn't you? If you're going to prove this? But no, they bring in actual Christian historians who are trying to defend that Jesus was a real person by only citing the Bible. What sense does that make? If you're going to prove that Jesus was a historical figure and that he really did exist, wouldn't you want people not of the faith who are citing non-biblical fucking evidence like sea scrolls or, any of the other shit that we've actually found? Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I was actually thinking that this movie was written by intelligent people. It's not. It's written by fucking hipster Christian whiners because they can't think outside of their fucking little box. And by far the worst segment of this whole courtroom shit is what happens on the last fucking day of it, when the defense literally calls his defendant to the stand, treats her like a hostile witness, and fucking acts like a jackass. I'm sorry. There's nothing. He literally gets held in contempt when he starts saying that she should apologize and she lied, and starts bringing up personal stories just to get some reaction. It's fucking brainwashing by playing the evil bad guy in front of the jury. It's clearly testifying. This lawyer should have been arrested. He was held in contempt, but by the end of the movie you think that nothing went wrong because he's just happy-go-lucky. Okay, I think I've made my point. This movie is a piece of shit. It's horribly written. It's completely biased. It only exists to fucking spell out for already people of Christian beliefs that they are the victims, they're awesome, everyone else is evil, blah, 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 all the bullshit shit that we already see in basically every single Pure Flix movie that comes out. There's nothing here that really is redeemable. There were some better aspects in the first movie, which I will give it credit, they were better, but that doesn't make this a good movie. It's like saying that, oh, this is a smaller pile of shit than the massive pile of shit the first one was. That still doesn't change the fact it's a pile of shit. And it gets an honest to God, fuck it from me. There is nothing here that you should take from this other than this is a piece of shit film. There is nothing here that I can honestly say is worth your time, your money, your intelligence. I felt myself getting dumber in this, and I wish to God I had more alcohol. And so, that's it for me. Did you enjoy the video? Have you seen God's Not Dead 2? I hope to God you have not. Hell, go see the fucking comedy that's so bad it's not even showing in my fucking theaters. Meet the Meeps? Eps? I don't know. It was dumb. It looks dumb. And as always, if you like what you see, be sure to hit the subscribe button, share this with your friends, and hit the like. It really does help me. And be sure to follow me on Twitch and Twitter, and like me on Facebook. I got those right, even though I was about to get them wrong. And yeah, that's it for me, so I'll see you all next time. Oh, holy shit. Tom wasn't kidding. That much apple juice really is not a good idea.